Hi, I'm Andre from Rush Sports, and I'm going to run through a quick bike check. To my right is the newest bike I've built up. It is the second bike I've been riding in 2015. It is a 29-inch Evil Following, launched a couple of weeks ago. I have a great affinity with Dave Weigel, who's one of the designers behind the linkage system that the Evil uses, Dave Weigel's Delta Link. And I bought into the Following partially because I really like the company. I love what the guys at Evil have done in the past. I think their designs are fantastic, and I really buy into their company ethos. So starting off with the frame, it's a 29-inch wheel bike, 120 mils of travel on the rear that can be matched up to a 120 or 130 mil fork up front. I've built it around a 130 mil Formula 35, which is the latest enduro fork Formula have launched. Adjustable travel, low speed, high speed compression damping, rebound, as well as a low speed compression lockout that has a neat, tidy blow off valve, so you can dial in the blow off on the lockout. Rolling, I've got Industry 9 Enduro wheels, 32-hole wheel set, nice wide rim, great tubeless compatibility, and rolling on Onza Ibex 29 by 2.25 inch rubber with their free ride casing. Combination between the wide rim and the wider, more aggressive tire with the free ride casing just means that you can run slightly lower pressures. You get a great tire profile, and then not too much side to side roll in the tires. I tend to run slightly harder pressure than your average guys. I put this down to the trails that we've got here surrounding Pietermaritzburg being mostly hard pack with very fast banked and bermed turns, so you've got a lot of side weight load on the tires. Typically I'll ride 30 to 32 psi in the rear and 28 to 30 psi up front. Other than the i9 wheels, I'm using the latest Shimano XTR 11 speed with a 11 40 tooth cassette on the rear, and depending on where I'm riding, either a 30, 32 or 34 tooth race face direct mount chainring. That of course mounting straight up onto their next crankset, which in my opinion is probably one of the lightest and stiffest cranks on the market to date. It's also super easy to work on and has some of the longest bottom bracket bearing life I've ever experienced, particularly from a BB30 crankset. Obviously running our Formula brakes, I've got a bit of a custom brake combination running the R1 Racing levers with the Enduro model The One calipers. That's something I've just built up from workshop spares. So you've got the larger piston diameter on the caliper providing additional cooling and braking power, and then the great ergonomics of the short R1 Racing lever, not to mention the drop in weight on the lever side. I've always been a fan of Renthal. I really enjoy the rise and bend of their handlebars. So I've got a full Renthal cockpit on this bike, 40 mil stem because I'm running an extra large Evil frame. So I've got extra room to move in the front center, 40 mil stem, nice high rise handlebar because of the short fork travel as well as the length of the head tube. So 30 mil rise bar, 780 mil width, and then finishing off the Renthal cockpit just with their Kevlar lock-on grips. Running a KS dropper post, which is something that's new for me. I've always been a RockShox reverb guy. I've been interested in the KS posts and was particularly interested in the fact that they offer a 150 millimeter drop as opposed to the 125 mil drop on the RockShox reverb. So it just allows you to get the saddle a little bit lower out the way. And I must say I really enjoy the ergonomics of their remote lever. On the top of the KS, I've got a Ergon saddle, the SME3, which is their new Enduro saddle. I find it great. It's a nice flat platform. It's got their non-slip coating, which at first I thought was marketing BS, but it definitely works, which just means that on your steeper climbs, you're able to get stuck into the saddle far easier. So you're not constantly having to adjust your weight back and forward. Finer touches on the Evil frame. There's great chainstay protectors, great down tube protector to protect the carbon from rock hits. And of course, right in the center, the Delta suspension, which I have a chuckle every time I think about the name. Delta stands for Dave's Extra Legitimate Travel Apparatus. And basically what it is, as complicated as it looks, is essentially a simple single pivot just with a complex link that pushes the shock. And what that allows Dave to do is just fine-tune the shock dynamics and get a little bit more performance out of the suspension. So you've got a super supple initial action that ramps up nicely towards about 80% of the travel, which just maximizes the performance out of the essentially short travel back end, where a lot of guys are going for 160 mil enduro bikes these days. I think what's unique about the following is the combination of the geometry and the suspension. You can have a super short travel bike that you can still rally down some pretty rough trails. It works for me, it makes the riding great fun, and I think it's a versatile bike. I'm coming in at just over 12 kilos with pedals, and it's good for anything from a 40-kilometer trail ride to a super aggressive enduro ride. And this is the bike I'll be taking across with me to Colorado later this year for the Colorado round of the EWS Enduro World Series, and I certainly hope it's a good choice. We'll soon figure that out.